Monte Carlo, Monaco. We arrived here just in time to catch the tail end of a practice session. Perdiza and Hawthorne. Maserati and Van Wall special accordingly. Lancia, of course. It's a very, very tight course, less than 2 miles. Mercedes. This was something we were really looking forward to. Sterling Moss, car number 6. And one of Mercedes' top team drivers, Hans Hermann, crashed in practice. He was very lucky he didn't suffer injuries more serious than he did. However, Monaco has a rather strange rule that the first 3 cars in the starting positions must qualify on the first day. This was Hermann's first time on his very short and very tricky course, and this is a result. Also at the top of this hill, this blacktop had been resurfaced recently, and there was a great deal of gravel on the circuit. Following the practice session, we had a wonderful opportunity to do a little tourist-type sightseeing. We were particularly impressed by the beautiful yacht of Onassis, the Greek ship owner, and the very charming Deo Gigante of Prince Rainier's. A large opening at the top of the hill is a new open-air theater being built. But enough sightseeing, let's get down to the preparation for the Grand Prix. This is race day. Early in the morning, of course, the fantastic Mercedes truck arrives. This truck is specially built, one of a kind, powered by a 300 SL engine. Maserati arrives, and the balance of the Mercedes-Benz Rennabteilung, their typical blue and white trucks. Notice the lightning holes in these aluminum extrusions. These are forged aluminum, incidentally. Those of you who are technically minded. Forged aluminum rails they use on this particular truck. They claim a top speed of 106 miles an hour for this unit with a racing car on the back. It's also quite an experimental unit and occasionally used for practice. Ferrari. Cars pretty much the same as they were at earlier races. This is the 4-cylinder, 2.5-liter, double overhead cam engine. This was the car they call the Super Squallow or the Super Shark. Very, very good looking, very trim little car. And remember this, 4-cylinder, double overhead cam. The Lancias were back with us again, back with their familiar, but different approach to Grand Prix racing. 2.5-liter, double overhead cam, but a V8 engine. They're 2 Italian manufacturers with 2 different schools of thought as to what consists of a winning engine. Mercedes. This is car number 4. It's not the same 4 that crashed in practice. This was the car to be driven by the French driver, Simon. It was a spare car which they had brought along just for practice or in the event of some mishap taking place. Very functional. Now, this is still a different approach to Grand Prix racing. The German approach, 8-cylinder, single overhead camshaft, fuel injection, still 2.5-liter. And still a 4th approach, 6-cylinder, double overhead cam, 2.5-liter Maseratis, Louis Rosier's Maserati in this particular case. And then there's Bella Darby. People were wondering if she was going to let that dog loose again as the race starts. Bella had quite a conversation with Art Kaiser, who is head of Mercedes press relations, and of course she had to have her picture taken in the car. Alberto Ascari with a communique of some sort, which probably told him that he should have his picture taken waving at the photographers with Bella Darby. It's good publicity for everybody concerned. Very gracious person, the late Ascari. Castellotti and Perdiza laughing over some Italian joke, we're sure. Mike Hawthorne in the dark glasses with Mr. Vanderville with the Van Wall special. And race moment. The prince is about to arrive. Prince Rainier of Monaco. The arrival of the prince is accompanied by playing of the national anthem of Monaco. while the photographers snap and snap and snap. As honorary course marshal of the Grand Prix of Europe, Prince Rainier is entitled to take a lap around the circuit, with the chief steward accompanying him holding the red and white flag, the colors of Monaco. The crowd was getting a little bit excited right about now. This was the last few seconds just before the race. Down the hill, about halfway around the circuit, clearing the course. The 13th Grand Prix of Europe was underway. Fangio, Castellotti, and Moss leading off out of the first turn, the first hairpin. Fangio and Moss. Now watch Castellotti stick his nose inside there, make an opening for Ascari to come through behind. Doesn't quite do it, but there it was. Balance of the field follows on around. This is one of the tightest and slowest turns in the entire circuit. The circuit is loaded with hairpin turns like this. It's only slightly less than 2 miles long. First lap, Fangio, Castellotti, and Moss, Ascari. The balance of the field follows. Same bit again. Fangio down into the turn. Castellotti on the inside, Moss on the outside. Castellotti moves over, and Ascari stays back in fourth spot. Why, I don't know. He could have come around. Fangio in car number 2. Car number 6, Sterling Moss. Third place, now Alberto Ascari. Musso. Just off the chicane area at the bottom of this little hill were the frogmen of the French Navy Reserve. Out there just in case, and later on they were needed. Television Monte Carlo. All Europe saw this race, radio and television. Chiron in the Lancia. Watch this fast pan with a television camera. That'll send the viewer halfway across his living room at home. Ferrari being passed by Fangio. Castellotti. Farina. Fangio. Ascari working hard coming out of that turn. Rosier ran into an embankment somewhere along the course, knocked the tail off his Maserati and retired for the day. Perdiza. The high-pitched scream you hear in the background is the Mercedes, the most fantastic sounding car we've ever heard. Neubauer, Mercedes pit manager, gives a few signals. Let them know Ascari's right behind them. 22 seconds behind Fangio, 17 seconds behind Moss. Only 5 seconds separate Fangio and Moss. Pebbles on the course, even on the straightaway. Most of those dug up by the cars accelerating out of that hairpin turn. Up the hill, up towards the casino. Over and past the casino and down the hill again. Ascari. Competition to turn. Castellotti and Farina. Chiron. Watch this bit. Don't pay any attention to me. Tell the flagman, drapeau rouge. Pardon me, drapeau jaune, yellow flag, red flag. Chiron really panicked in that, but he got along okay. Fangio again. Had a little trouble this turn sometimes, but this time he got around beautifully. Moss right behind him. Beautiful grip by Sterling. The Gordini. And Elie Bayol spins out in the Gordini. This course got very, very slick. Unless you have seen Monaco, you haven't seen auto racing at its roughest best. And here's one of the rough things. Gordini drops out, retires for the day. But Monaco is the toughest course in Europe, probably one of the toughest courses in the world on cars, these tight turns, and occasionally a tight spectator. Drifts all the way inside to outside. Farina again. Simone, car number 4, into the pits. French driver as a guest artist for Mercedes. The hood is latched down, the car is retired. Mike Hawthorne, the Van Wall special, into the pits. Hadn't had too much luck with this particular car at that particular time. Trintignant, car number 44. Perdiza, Cesare Perdiza, top Italian driver. Taruffi, Fangio. And the crowd, uphill, downhill, any place they could put their you-know-whats, that's where they were. Wonderful crowd, excited crowd. Maybach's excited too. 2 Mercedes left running out of the 3 original starters. Crowd controlled, circle, up the hill again. Mercedes lapping through the field. This race never gets dull because with 20 cars starting on a slightly less than 2-mile circuit, there's a car every place on the circuit at all times. Ferrari. The 2 Mercedes coming up the hill. Lancia Castellotti is driving a beautiful race, one of the finest races he's ever driven. Going to be a very, very great driver. Fangio again, up towards the casino. Ascari. And Mieres, and that was in car number 36, another young Argentine driver. Taruffi. Ascari. Perdiza, up and coming, another young Italian driver. Castellotti again. Get a chance to see some of these people go around these corners. Over the hill, and down past the other side of the casino. Fangio tucks the tail end of the short chassis Mercedes around. Ted Whiteaway, an independent, running in British racing green. Running for defense money, that's about all he gets, but he manages to tour Europe with it. Old HWM. Lancia again. Look at the rubber in those turns. And see? Fangio does have trouble with that turn sometimes. Ascari again, beautifully getting around that turn. Under the tunnel and back out towards the ocean side, along the seawall. Fangio didn't come around. Waited and waited. Finally he came around on foot with one of the mechanics. His car dropped out on him, engine trouble down by the station house. That's where it sat. It left 1 Mercedes running. Communications were very poor at Monaco, and Mrs. Fangio was quite worried until finally Juan Manuel did show up down in the pits, and of course the first thing she did was take his temperature to see if he was all right. Quite a lot of anxiety in the pits. They're curious. Sterling Moss is now leading in the Mercedes. Ascari is second in the Lancia, Trintignant third in the Ferrari, and Mieres fourth in the Maserati. There's Moss. Cars a little bit coming down the hill. That's what the other 2 cars did just before they went out. Ascari still behind him, although Moss stretched out a tremendous lead on him. 14 cars broke the old Mercedes record, set free war. 14 cars in qualifying. Gendarmes maintaining radio communications. Mercedes comes by smoking a little more than it was before and finally pulls into the pits in a big cloud of smoke, Sterling pointing frantically at the hood. Chief Engineer Uhlenhaut standing next to Sterling, taking a big swig there. And they pull the car out. Sterling goes down to report that he is out to the officials, so they will no longer score him through the race. Moves Maurice Trintignant, car number 44, into the lead. Well, Ascari was actually in the lead, but on the same lap, Ascari dumped the Lancia into the Monaco Bay, which brought out first and second place in the same lap and moved Trintignant up to the first place. Down through the chicane, that's exactly where Ascari went off. Trintignant gets a signal from his pits. Of course, Maurice Trintignant, being one of the top French drivers, the French are very, very excited about this. Another fast pan by our cameraman, and Maurice Trintignant, winner of the 13th Grand Prix of Europe. Trintignant had a little bit of trouble here getting up. Of course, he's pretty tired after driving that long and very hard race. Drove a very smart race. Partially luck and partially skill. Beautiful trophy presented by Prince Rainier of Monaco. Gets more congratulations. Prince departs amid the plaudits of the crowd. And nothing left to do but fish for Ascari's car.